The world watched in horror in 1945 as the United States unleashed the atom bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. These events forever seared the devastating consequences of nuclear war into our collective memory. The question that haunts us today is, could it happen again? Could a figure like Donald Trump, known for his impulsive nature, bring us to the brink? Trump's presidency was marked by a departure from traditional foreign policy and a disdain for multilateralism. He withdrew the U.S. from the Iran nuclear deal, a move widely condemned by the international community. He engaged in a war of words with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, exchanging threats of fire and fury. His rhetoric and actions raised serious concerns about his understanding of the devastating consequences of nuclear war. The legacy of Hiroshima and Nagasaki serves as a stark reminder of the horrors that await us should we ever choose to unleash the power of the atom again. We must demand that our leaders choose dialogue over destruction, diplomacy over devastation. Iran's pursuit of nuclear technology has been a source of international tension for decades. The U.S. and its allies view Iran's nuclear program with deep suspicion, fearing that Tehran seeks to develop nuclear weapons. Iran insists that its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes, such as energy production and medical research. Trump's decision to withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal, negotiated by his predecessor Barack Obama, was highly controversial. The deal, known formally as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, imposed strict limits on Iran's nuclear program in exchange for the lifting of economic sanctions. Proponents of the deal argued that it was the best way to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons. Iran has responded by gradually increasing its uranium enrichment levels and reducing its cooperation with the IAEA. Tensions between the U.S. and Iran have escalated, raising fears of a military confrontation. The development and testing of hypersonic missiles has added a new and dangerous dimension to the global arms race. Hypersonic missiles are capable of traveling at speeds greater than 5 times the speed of sound, making them extremely difficult to detect and intercept. The US, Russia, and China are all engaged in a race to develop and deploy hypersonic missiles. This competition has raised concerns about a new arms race and the potential for these weapons to be used in a conflict. The lack of transparency and dialogue among the major powers about their hypersonic programs adds to the uncertainty and risk. These tests are often seen as provocative and destabilizing, raising fears of an accidental escalation into conflict. The international community must work together to establish clear rules and norms for the development and testing of hypersonic missiles. The Middle East is a region riven by conflict and instability. Long-standing rivalries, religious tensions, and competition for resources have fueled wars and proxy conflicts for decades. The presence of several nuclear-armed states, including Israel and potentially Iran, adds a terrifying dimension to the region's volatile mix. The potential for a nuclear conflict in the Middle East, however unlikely, is a nightmare scenario with unimaginable consequences. A nuclear detonation in the region would result in catastrophic loss of life, widespread environmental devastation, and long-term health impacts. The radioactive fallout would spread far beyond the immediate blast zone, potentially contaminating vast areas and displacing millions of people. The economic and political fallout from a nuclear conflict in the Middle East would be equally devastating. Global trade would be disrupted, oil prices would skyrocket, and the global economy would be plunged into chaos. The international community has watched with growing alarm as nuclear tensions have risen in recent years. The breakdown of arms control agreements, the development of new and more dangerous weapons, and the rhetoric of confrontation from world leaders have all contributed to a climate of fear and uncertainty. The United Nations has called for renewed efforts to prevent nuclear proliferation and disarmament. The Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons remains the cornerstone of international efforts to control these weapons. Civil society organizations and individuals around the world have been vocal in their opposition to nuclear weapons and their call for peace. The International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2017, has been instrumental in mobilizing public opinion against these weapons. The world stands at a crossroads. The path we choose will determine whether we continue down a dangerous road of nuclear brinkmanship or work together to create a safer and more secure world. The stakes could not be higher. Diplomacy, dialogue, and cooperation are the only way forward. We must engage in good faith efforts to reduce tensions, build trust, and address the underlying causes of conflict. We must strengthen international institutions and agreements that promote peace and security. We must reject the dangerous rhetoric of confrontation and embrace the language of diplomacy. The lessons of Hiroshima and Nagasaki must never be forgotten. Let us choose peace.